Now, I'm pleased to introduce our guest for tonight. He's a horror and thriller author with works including When Snow Turns Red, The Daywatcher, and Conspiracy of Ravens. Please welcome to the Void, the one and only Sean Milligan.
Thank you.
How you doing tonight?
I'm doing awesome.
Now you're up in Canada, right? A little still cold for you guys up there?
Oh yeah, it's actually snowing again here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've snowed here past 3 days now in Chicago.
Oh, Chicago, yeah.
Yeah.
Here we could probably get snow right up until May sometimes. Yeah. It's like it's a mix, you know? Like last week we hit 17 Celsius. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit for you guys. But and then, now it's like minus in the -5, -10. So we're gonna wait till probably May to really hit the warmer weather.
Yeah, my other people I work with and do other shows with, they're in California. Like, it got chilly today, got to 65 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm like, that's pretty warm still.
Exactly. So that's why they film. That's why everybody wants to live there. The beautiful weather,
but fires and earthquakes and
true
prices of everything.
Oh yeah.
All right, Sean. Well, before we get into the body of your work, I'd like to get to know you a little bit more. Do you recall what your first horror movie was?
That I've written or that
you watched?
It has to be Freddy. I mean, sorry, not Freddy. It has to be Friday the 13th. Because my father used to rent them even when we're probably a little bit too young when he got them. My brother was probably about 11 and I was probably about 7.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was probably Friday the 13th.
Now, did that capture your imagination as a writer when you're that young, or did it take you a little bit more time to get really into the horror world?
It took me till I met my wife, because she's a horror freak. So once I met her, and then watching the horror genre with her more often, I was hooked. It's just a visceral. There's so many facets with horror. You can watch action, teen scream. There's so many facets to horror genres, mixing with horror, with comedy. So right from there, it's just like, okay. And once I started writing it, I loved writing it because you can get real visceral with the actions. And there's just so many great stories out there from history that are terrifying, that are really scary with true history. Like, it's amazing, the stories that are out there.
Yeah. Now, do you have what's your favorite horror book that you've read?
I can't say one, but Stephen King is. He is my go-to horror guy for ever since probably my early 20s. I've been reading his books.
Yeah,
he's just the best for me. Like, I can't believe how many books he has actually written in his lifetime. He's a workhorse. He just nonstop.
Yeah,
he's always putting out great ideas, because that's why you always see him in the movies. But maybe the movies don't compare to his. Obviously, a lot of times don't compare to his books.
Oh, for sure. It's always a hit or miss, I think, with it. You have some resurgency of really great work done, and then you have the 2022 Children of the Corn. And
exactly. But then you get the Monkey that was out, I think, just last year, and I thought that was really good. Sometimes they're very disappointed in, but the Monkey surprised me. It was really well done. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Did you have the chance to watch Edgar Wright's remake of The Running Man?
I did not. No.
Much more faithful to the book, for sure, than Arnold's, from 1990. But
and then there was just one recently with Dave Bautista. I turned it on, but it just didn't. Couldn't get into it.
Yeah.
Even though I love Dave Bautista, he's a wicked actor. He's a very good actor, but it just didn't compare to the book.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite book of Stephen King's?
I can't say really. There's one more, The Institute. I really like that. That was a more recent one. Like, even his more recent ones, I really liked, because his older ones, they were very long. Some were like over 1,000 pages.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So just to remember 20, 25 years ago, reading those books from now, it's very well done. Like Mr. Mercedes was great too.
Mm-hmm.
Those category of books too were awesome.
Yeah, yeah. He said his branch out. What he did, Disclosure, I believe, as well. More about aliens, which is always fun and interesting for his perspective of that.
Mm-hmm. And even
So,
Mr. Mercedes, the new series, I thought that was very well done too. I
mhm.
enjoyed that too.
Yeah, the one series I wish they just did not cancel was Castle Rock. I don't know if you had a chance to watch that.
No, I never watched Castle Rock.
Oh, it was the Stephen King universe,
Okay.
but in a TV show, and I think it just tied everything really well together.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like Stephen King has to be like he's the
Mm-hmm.
top guy for me in horror. Even though you know, he,
Yeah.
some people might not agree, but yeah, I love Stephen King.
Oh yeah, he brought horror writing really into the mainstream. It was there, but it just was never, I think, as big as he was able to do it.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. He is like what other author even out of the horror genre has had so many films made off of their work?
Yeah.
I don't know anybody.
Yeah, I mean, Clive Barker has had, I would say, maybe 60% of his stuff made, but not as
Okay.
as much as it should be.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
See, I never read Clive Barker either.
okay.
But yeah, like for horror, it's always been Stephen King is the go. If I want a horror book and I'm at the library or wherever I am, it's Stephen King. You know, it's always going to be pretty good.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Now, I'd like to get into more of your work here, and what made you become a writer? Was something that you just always did as a kid, or something that you just grew into as
I always wanted to tell stories, and I
Mhm.
always believed that I could, but life gets in the way and kids and this and that. But it was actually listening to the Joe Rogan podcast, and he
Mhm.
kept always bringing up about these super pack of wolves during World War One, and the super pack of wolves made the Russian and German side have a ceasefire, and then they kind of worked together to exterminate these wolves. So once that story came in, and that was my first story, I was hooked. I was just looking up history all the time, looking what I could write about. And then after that, I got into Monsters Among Men, my story, which is about Alexander Bean. I don't know if you ever heard about him.
I don't think so.
He's from the 16th century Scotland, and they believe that him and his clan of cannibals killed up to 1,000 people during the 16th century, and that they could never actually find them because they lived in a cave off the sea, and the shore would come in and out. And when when the water would come in, you would never see the cave. And it wasn't until maybe
Yeah.
30, 40 years after killing that they found it was King James that actually found out about Alexander, and they killed the clan. So it just like history is so fascinating that you have so many stories to build off of.
Yeah.
So that's why I love history.
Yeah. Do you always kind of go into historic and try to get some references and just kind of expand upon
I do, but I know in the business, it's really hard to get a historical film made because they believe that the cost is too high. So especially in the horror genre, it seems like they want limited sets, limited number of actors, try to get that budget down so they can get the movie made. So I've been focusing more on that after writing 5 screenplays about historical facts that you got to actually, you got to get into maybe lowering the budget so your script can actually get made one day.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that you're right. It is that finicky world. Sinners was able to do it just because they had the entire wardrobe from the canceled Blade movie, so they got really lucky for that time period to have that already made.
Well, you got Michael B. Jordan that wants to do a movie with, I forget the director. I forget his name right now, but once you get Michael B. Jordan, he's behind a project. You can probably get that project made, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you got to get into finding someone that's really in, like a producer or an actor that's really into your story, if you want to get that budget pushed up.
Right.
Like, if not, I understand it's a lot of money to make a movie. So you got to try to get that budget down. That's why horror is really good, because you can actually get that movie made for, a budget that's 20 million or under, where everything else is like, it's very hard to draw people into the theater.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's always usually the case, especially like if you look at horror movies from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, and most of them were low budget, pretty much independent films that didn't have the backing. They made it for $250,000, but which sounds like a lot, but the return on investment in horror is generally pretty high.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. Like Jason Blum, I think he's got it down to science, where he gets that budget under 20 million, and his rate of return is like 3 to maybe 10 times fold. So he's doing something right. Like, he's got a good formula.
Yeah,
got a good eye to pick a good story that actually can sell to an audience.
Oh yeah. I think, and that's what I like about horror, is that there's different, as you said, there's different subgenres of horror that it's going to appeal to someone somewhere, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like Terrifier is not gonna get all the audience in, because some people just don't want that much gore in a horror film. But then you can get the psychological, like the Hereditary, that will totally, like, it will spook you out in a completely different way than all this gore flying at you, but which some people love. And that's why it's great to go to a movie theater watching a horror movie, right? Because you don't mind hearing people scream. It's actually adds to the enjoyment of seeing people freak out within the movie theater, because it's a jump scare coming at you.
Right. Yeah. My wife, we've been together a very long time, and it's like, she will not watch Terrifier. She goes, it sounds too gross, too graphic, even though we grew up watching the 80s and 90s that, were gore fests. Yeah. But she loves the psychological, but she's like, she's like, I can't watch it and then go to sleep.
Yeah.
She's like, we have to watch something happy afterwards before we can go to sleep.
Exactly. That's why horror is so great, because there's so much, within the horror realm. Like, your wife can watch that, or you don't want to watch, Freddy's a slasher. You want to watch a more psychological. So that's why I don't think horror can be beat.
Yeah.
For me, I know there's lots of people that won't even give it a chance, because they want to sleep at night. But
well, there's something wrong with us that can watch it and then go to sleep.
Yeah, maybe we shouldn't have been watching Jason movies when we were 7, 8 years old. But we're doing all right, right? We're still
exactly.
We're not in jail or nothing, right? We're
yeah. And it's great. And when you're writing a story, do you have it in your mind that you can write a screenplay versus a novel, or is it kind of just like you kind of change with it?
I've never like written a novel. It's only screenplays that I write.
Okay.
Because I know that a novel would entail a lot more. Like, you have to start writing about getting in that person's head and writing it on the paper, where you're trying, with the screenplay, it's just the action and the dialogue that you have to get across to the audience. So yeah, like, I don't even think Stephen King would even think that I'm a writer, because authors is just a way different realm compared to screenwriting, right?
Oh, it is. I know, especially with a lot of people that are very independent. They have screenplays. And have you thought about making? Because there's always like the novelization of the movie, right?
Well, it's like that's what some people are saying. Like, if you really want to get your screenplay made now, you have to write a novel about it to get the IP to get it made into a screenplay. But for me, it's just like, I know I've touched on, like, some producers are reading my scripts. I'm getting some notice. So it's just like, I'm just going to keep pushing through, just keep writing new stories. And if someone likes my story, but they don't think they can get it made, and they say to me, hey, what else do you got? I'll have it there. So that's why I just want to keep focused on, just keep writing screenplays, keep writing as many as I can. Because if you just find that one good producer that really likes your stuff, you never know what can happen, right?
Yeah. And reading up on you, you also like to write your screenplays and your characters that you can see them going into multiple movies and sequels. Is that something you always have in mind when writing your screenplays?
I don't at first, but then as the story grows, you can start seeing how you can branch off the story into a sequel, into another story, because that really is the name of the game, it seems, within movies, that you have to, you want to keep expanding that IP if you have the audience that loves your stuff, you want to keep giving them what they want. So you got to just make sure. Well, I never say to myself, oh, I'm going to make this into a sequel, but I always know that I can, just because you can build off certain characters, bring in other things that happen with them in them. So I don't know. It's just like a puzzle. It's like you might know the beginning and the end. You have to put everything together to make it work. And then when you do that, you can see how it could branch off again if there's an audience there.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, I think that's a great way of thinking. You know, I make independent horror films, and we're working on a TV show script right now. And we're saying, hey, this is season 1. I go, but what's season 2? And I was talking to the other guys I'm working on this with. I'm like, you know, if you have an idea, you can plant those seeds in season 1. So like if you have your twist for the last episode and you go into season 2, the cliffhanger, you can see, hey, this didn't come out of nowhere, right? Yeah. And I think that especially with TV shows, I think it's important to have some sort of plan, you know, to have, say, 2 seasons, right?
Oh, definitely.
You watch Game of Thrones, for example, and then season 8, like they didn't know what they're doing with their characters anymore, and they clearly didn't have it planned out.
Totally. If you're doing a TV series, like it's kind of like a comic book. You just want to keep that going, right? You can't just think of a one-off story. You got to keep going on and on and on.
Yeah.
Especially when you know the audience wants more. So that's how I could see it really becoming hard. And that's where you really have to zone in to whatever we're pulling these stories out of.
Right.
But like TV is, you want to keep it going, especially if it's hot, I think.
Yeah. So Sean, what's your writing process like? Is it you have like a notepad, you have some ideas that you go, hey, I'm going to work on X amount of words for this script, X amount of words for this script. You kind of do like one at a time.
I pretty much, when I start a script, I start outlining. Like I write a page, I put who the characters are, certain characteristics that maybe I want to bring into the story with them. And then I just start mapping out that story on paper. And sometimes I'm writing a story and I don't even, like, I'll begin it with on paper, but then I'll be on the computer and I'll just start going. And then I look back on my paperwork and it's like, I've totally changed what's going on, but it fits the storyline. And if I think it's better, I just keep going with it.
Okay. And do you have that quintessential notepad and paper by your bed?
Yeah. Like you have to, right? Because I find if you don't do that, there's been so many times where you lose that thought and you want to get that thought back, but you didn't write it down. So you're like, what are you doing? And especially when I first started writing, I learned always to have the paper and pen right by the bed. And even if I wake up at 2:00 in the morning and have some crazy dream, I'm writing it down. It might not even be for the story, but it might be for some other story that you might go back and look at and like, oh, this would fit perfectly into this story. So you always have to have some access to a pen and paper when writing a story. For me.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I like that. That's cool that people are able to do that. I have to take pills to sleep, so I don't get to wake up and write anything down. So maybe it's from the old horror. No, it can't be it. But I know you also like to sprinkle in some humor into your writing, and you know, what do you think about humor that goes well with horror and thriller writing?
I think it's just that some people need a break when you're watching something very intense, you know, something that's really visceral and scary. You need that you know, the comedic part of the story just to break it up, just to get people relaxed, because they might be overwhelmed with graphic horror and, you know, this dismay. You want something just to lighten the mood, make it happy, make it, you know, just make people get their mind off of that while reading the story or watching a movie. I just always find if I'm watching a movie and there's a little bit of humor, it helps put that story along. Like, there have been great stories out there. Like, I don't remember anything in The Exorcist being really funny, but I love that story.
I mean, most scenes in Exorcist 2 were hysterically bad.
Yeah. You know what I mean? But that's why I just like to write a little bit of humor. Not all the time. Like, you know, I had one producer, he was he liked the story, but but he was just like the evil guy is just too evil. So like some people want just be something to be likable for the most evil guy, but in the story it was like it's evil against evil. I want you to like her more than him, so I got to make him look like, you know, like you really want to hate him, but you want to like her, but I could see his point too. Like, yeah, a little bit of humor breaks it up, right?
Yeah. Well, I think that's also like, especially in film, is that you have that, and you're like, oh, it's almost like nervous laughter, like because it's like, oh, I catch your leaf, but then you know that you're just gonna get hit right back again.
Exactly. Yeah.
With it.
Yeah, I agree. Like, oh yeah, it's you need for me. I love having a little bit of humor because it can be overwhelming with with the scenes, right? With the violence. But that's what people are coming to see too, right?
Yep.
So
yeah. Well, I mean, you're more, you also write thriller, so you're more of the, you know, the highbrow horror or the elevated horror, right?
Well, I've written everything. Like I've written slasher, kind of maybe elevated horror. So yeah, like I just, it depends where the story begins and how I can take it forward. And I, you know, I have written like all through like the genre of horror, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Which one do you have? Do you have a preference of which subgenre of horror you like to write in the most?
Would probably be historical horror. That I love, like the stories that are real, and that, you know, this is a real story, and you're building off this story. For example, like I have this story called The Bridge of Kellyanne, and the whole story started for me after reading about how this mother in Ireland had killed her children, and they found her, and for her execution, they put her in a barrel with nails, rolled her down a gully, and then after where she died, they built this bridge over, and where this bridge was, all the kids would play games like, oh, I can see Kellyanne's face within the brick. And just with that story, I was able to write, you know, the whole story. Now I wrote a prequel. I'm going to write a sequel with it. So it just came off of that little factoid in history that made all this come to life. So that's why I just love learning about history. It doesn't have to be 200 years ago, 300 years ago. It could be 20 years ago. Some serial killers, you can add into your story. But it's just like real life horror is crazy. Like how, like, you know, you live your normal life and you read about these stories, and it just fascinates you so much that what would drive someone to do that?
Right.
How could we even act the way that we do?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I've said it many times in the show, but like my wife, she will listen to all the true crime stuff all the time, and that won't bother her.
Yeah. Women for whatever reason love true crime. I think me and your wife would get along well because, you know, when we go to bed, my wife's staying up till whatever 1 o'clock in the morning, you know, listening about serial killers. Where it's like, like no wonder you're tired today. Come on, you didn't go to bed till 1. You're listening about serial killers. But it's not just my wife. Even my friends, their wives are all into true crime. I don't know what it is with women, but they really love that true crime genre.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, you know, it's, you know, there's always horror movies that are being, you know, based off of, you know, real life. Obviously, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. How many, you know, Gacy spinoffs that we have based on Gacy himself? You know, just a ton.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it's interesting that, you know, that's what I like about horror too, especially when you bring the historical aspect of like, bad shit happens.
Yeah.
In real life.
Yeah, and it's very like small population that actually commit the crimes, but we're all fascinated because I don't think normal people could even fathom maybe doing, like, you know, you're pushed to your limits. I could see something happen, like, but for the average day person, I just don't think they could fathom being that violent. Like what drives, we're so inquisitive, what drives people that way?
Yeah, for sure. So, Sean, in your opinion, what makes just a great horror story, no matter the genre? Is just the characters, the atmosphere, or just the world building and lore for you?
Well, I think you have to have a really good premise that draws people into the story, and then from there you got to get the character or characters that the people are going to actually care about, and want them to survive or want them to succeed or want to get around that obstacle that stands in their way. So as long as you can bring that into the story, I don't care if it's a slasher, I don't care what subgenre of horror it is, as long as you can get people to care about that character, your protagonist. Maybe they like the antagonist better, they want them to succeed, but as long as you can get them interested in liking them, you got something going for you.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's amazing, especially in the movies, is that we all know the final girls, but everyone knows the bad guy more so.
Yeah, because he might be just more, I don't want to say cool, but just like you want to learn what makes him tick more, what is going inside his brain, like why is he acting the way that he does. So we're more drawn to him, to like, or to her, whatever serial killer or psychopath or whatever we're looking at, right?
Yeah,
we're watching.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think a great villain is a fantastic. You don't want to be a boring villain. Like, that's the problem with a lot of Marvel movies, is their villains are just so one-dimensional that no one really cares about them, versus the greats that exist, right?
Yeah, I think that's why we're even seeing like the rise of the anti-hero, right? Because we want someone that's not perfect. We don't want Clark Kent,
right?
That's perfect. We want some guy that's flawed and that makes the same mistakes as we do, and we want to root for him because we can see ourselves within that anti-hero. And we get in a bad mood, we swear at people, we tell people off, and we're not the greatest of people, but we think that we're good people at the end. And that's why I think we truly could see like a rise with the anti-hero within movies.
For sure. All right, Sean, we're about at the show here, so we can get into some roundup questions. I gotta ask, of all the movies we discussed, what's your favorite scary movie?
My favorite scary movie. Wow, that's hard. That's hard because there are so many good out there, but the one that's I watched even recently and I thought it's so good is Hereditary. It's just like, it's so, you don't see what's coming.
Yeah.
And it's not like that visceral slasher, but you are scared. It does get you. Like if you're watching alone at night, by yourself, you are going to be a little scared. You're going to be like, you're going to be like your wife looking at something else that's going to put you in that happy mood after.
Yeah. Well, we watched it, and she's looking at all the corners, like, wait, is she on? She's on the roof. She's on the ceiling.
Exactly.
Awesome. So, Sean, if someone was to email your knocking door tomorrow to write the next movie in an existing IP or franchise, what would it be?
Sean Mill 616@gmail.com. Yeah, give me a call if you ever if you know anybody that wants to get my work, I love to hand it out.
Yeah, but if you were to write the next one, what would you want to write the next Friday the 13th or next Halloween?
Oh, I'm not sure. It would be hard. Like, if anybody came to me and said to write, I would do it for sure, because it would be such an opportunity, right, to work with such IP that's been out there. But I think I would love a shot at Friday the 13th. Jason.
Yeah. But I mean, he could take Manhattan and actually go to Manhattan. That'd be cool.
It's true. Yeah, where was he again? At the Eiffel Tower? The Statue of Liberty. What am I talking about?
Yeah, we always joke because he briefly visits New York City.
But there is so much great IP out there. If I had the opportunity, you can't say no.
Yeah,
you'd have to take a stab at it.
For sure. All right, Sean, you ready for your random horror trivia question?
Sure.
What is the name of the goat character in the 2015 movie The Witch?
Oh, that's such a good movie too. Robert Eggers. I'm the goat, and I've seen that movie 3 times too. I don't even remember they calling the goat a name. But you want me to guess?
Yeah, you can guess.
Robert?
No. Do you want to know?
Yeah, one. Oh yeah.
Black Phillip.
Black Phillip.
Yes.
Now I remember. Yeah.
Yep.
That is a good name though.
Yes. All right, Sean. So before we go, where can people find you if I learn everything about you and your screenplays?
I'm on Twitter at Sean Screenplays, Sean Milligan, and that's pretty much where I'm at right now. Okay. I'm not on Instagram or Facebook or just Twitter right now.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Sean, for coming on. For anyone new here, make sure to follow us on all social media at Pada at Night, and we'll see you next time. Don't get lost in the void. Good night.